Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the Nike GT Hustle Academy. So this is the budget version of the GT Hustle 3, and this shoe is $190 freaking dollars, super duper expensive. It's Wemby's shoe, or it's the shoe that he wears. And I've been playing in the shoe and it's crazy as far as the cushion goes. It's too crazy for me. But yeah, 190 bucks, and then if you reduce the price by 100 bucks, or I guess 95 bucks, then you get the GT Hustle Academy. So this is the budget version, obviously, and it only retails for 95 bucks. It is not available on Nike right now, but I got it on like Kohl's, I believe it was, or some other third-party websites. So if you guys do want to call, I'll try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. And if you do choose to get this shoe, it does help me out if you buy it from the affiliate links in the description box or underneath this video, or I'll put the links right over here. But also, this is kind of like the brother of the GT Cut Academy, which of course this shoe is a budget version of the GT Cut 3, which was an amazing shoe. This shoe is absolutely amazing. So anyways, let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. In this colorway, we have kind of like this, kind of reminds you of like a carrot. Like the color is like a carrot almost, you know what I mean? And we have like a U shape here in the forefoot, and also the same here in the heel. It's just like a curved line. We have a whole bunch of lines, and it does get a little bit thicker here in the middle of the forefoot, right? But yeah, how does the traction feel? It feels pretty good so far. There's a nice bite on my wood floors, and there is a little bit of a squeak. It's not super loud, and it's also not super high pitched, but we do have a little bit of a squeak, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but I feel like most hoopers like to have a nice squeak, which this shoe has a little bit of a squeak, right? Versus the GT Hustle 3, which doesn't really have that much of a squeak right now. It has a pretty good bite so far, but does seem to be picking up a little bit of dust. But yeah, the traction pattern is very similar, of course, because it is kind of like the takedown model of the GT Hustle 3, right? But as you guys all know, the GT Cut Academy had top tier traction. It does seem to be picking up a little bit of dust, so we'll have to see on that. And as far as outdoor use goes, the rubber is actually quite hard. The grooves are pretty thick, and we do have a good amount of surface area, meaning that there's a lot of rubber in contact with the ground, which does improve the durability. So yeah, it feels like it'll be good for outdoor use as well. So the traction is feeling pretty good so far. And of course, we have this whole middle section of the outsole where there is no rubber, of course, and it is exposing the foam, which we'll get into. But moving on to the heel to toe transition, it does feel overall very, very smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have a nice curved shape and also fully exposed midsole, pretty much. I mean, the outsole, the rubber comes up a little bit to cage the foam in the back of the heel, but overall there is nice compression. It's soft in the heel, and then coming here into the forefoot, we have a very nice curved shape. Look at this rocker shape. So just from the shape, it's very smooth. And then of course we have a lot of flex here in the midfoot. You know what I mean? I feel like Nike doesn't really add like a midfoot shank plate. Maybe add at least like a plastic one, you know, just a TPU, like a little rectangular one right here, so it doesn't bend as much, so you have better torsional support. But look at this. Look at this, guys. I believe the GT Cut Academy did the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be the best for torsional support. I mean, most normal people, you're going to be fine with it. But obviously, it's not going to be the best for torsional support. But overall, heel to toe transition does feel very smooth. It's just not super springy. It's just very, very flexible, you know? So there's that. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is so different from the GT Hustle 3. I mean, so it is a cheaper shoe, right? So obviously, cheaper shoes, especially with Nike, they do lack tech, meaning they are a lot lighter, of course, but also the cushion is lacking a lot, right? But then like the GT Hustle line is supposed to be, you're supposed to be hustling. You know what I mean? So you're supposed to hustle all game, and you're supposed to have a shoe where it kind of lasts you all game and gives you a little bit more energy, so you don't have to feel as tired throughout the entire game, right? That's what the GT Hustle 3 kind of is advertised as, right? So the Academy version, you should have a little bit more cushion, even though it is a cheap or very, very cheap shoe. But then, like, there's no cushion. So basically what it says is that it's using a pair of responsive foams, and that's from like Kohl's. You know what I mean, as far as the tech specs go. So it can be wrong, but I couldn't really find anything on Nike because it's not available on Nike.com yet. But I'm guessing they're using like Renew foam or something like that, maybe even Cushlon, but I think it's a little too stiff to be Cushlon, but it's dual density pretty much, right? So as you guys can see, this darker colored foam, this is actually, when you press it with your fingers, actually a good amount softer than the lighter gray color, right? So even here in the heel, it is a little bit stiffer, but we still have nice compression here in the heel. Also a little bit of compression in the forefoot as well. So that feels nice, but the core feel is really, really good. Like, you're really low to the ground. I would say one of the best core feels that you can get right now, right? Like, I tried the GT Cut Academy on with the GT Hustles, like on at the same time, and the GT Cut Academy has good core feel, but it felt higher up off the ground than the GT Hustle Academy, which is kind of weird. You know what I mean? Because the Hustle line is supposed to have a little bit more cushion than the cut line, right? And it's way different than the GT Hustle 3, which is, this has the craziest cushion right now on the market, you know what I mean? So either way, underfoot cushion is okay. I mean, if you look at the insole is just nothing, you know what I mean? It's just a foam insole, not super nice. One of the really cheaper, you know, insoles obviously, and then underneath that we have a pretty stiff struggle board. So it's very, very stiff for underfoot cushion, but we do have a pretty nice compression here in the heel from the actual midsole. So we'll have to see on how the overall impact protection is. It feels pretty nice so far, but because of how low to the ground you are and because of how thin the foam is, I don't think it's gonna be the best, especially comparing it to this shoe and also the GT Cut Academy, which is a little bit of a bummer, you know? And now moving on to the upper. So the upper, they're saying this is Flyknit, which is kind of weird. It does remind me of the radial knit upper from the GT Hustle 3. I mean, as far as like how it feels on hand, the GT Hustle 3 definitely feels better for quality, but not that different, honestly. Like, especially on foot, you know, not that different. This is a little bit like scratchier, I would say. But, and also like a little bit cheaper, but not that big of a difference, which is weird for coming from like $190 to $95, right? Almost $100 price difference. But yeah, it's extremely thin, right? Ventilation is really, really good. I mean, there's a lot of airflow through this upper. So yeah, it's very, very minimal. It's also pretty dang supportive. It conforms your foot extremely well, which I do like. We do have some synthetic leather going around the eyelets and also around the heel a little bit. And then for the tongue, we have a very cheap material as well and very minimal padding. It's also an independent tongue, which is weird. I don't like that because when I was trying to put the shoe on, the tongue was folding in on itself a little bit and I had to kind of like fix it. You know, it's not like a performance thing, it's just kind of annoying a little bit. And I don't know why Nike's doing that. They even did it with the GT Hustle 3. Like, most modern basketball shoes have like a half booty construction tongue. If you look at the GT Cut Academy, that's what it uses, you know? So anyways, it's an independent tongue here in the GT Hustle Academy. And here in the ankle area, it says there's a lot of padding in their tech specs, but it's like less than average actually. It's not super well padded. So yeah, honestly, I do like how it feels on foot and just feels really minimal. Not super cozy and not super comfortable as far as like, there's not a lot of padding in it, but it is comfortable in the sense that it's like really minimal and thin, you know? So I do like the overall material, and also we have a little bit of padding here in the back of the shoe for some reason. I don't know why you would add foam here. Like, your foot is not gonna feel that. You know, you're gonna feel the foam inside the shoe, not outside. So I don't know why they would add that, but overall, I do like the material quality, especially for the price. Like, only $95 and they're giving us Flyknit, right? And now moving on to the fit. So I went up half size and this shoe fits me very, very well. It's actually still snug. So which is weird, you know? So if I went true to size, I definitely feel like it would be way too tight. So just be careful with that. I would suggest most people go up half a size for this shoe. But if you want a really, really snug fit, maybe go true to size. But like I said, even lengthwise for me going up half a size, my toes go very close to the edge of the shoe. It's a really snug toe box as well. And widthwise, I would say it's around normal to slightly narrow, right? So it's not squeezing the side of my foot that much, but it's still a pretty snug fit. So going up half a size for me is actually pretty good. And now moving on to the support and lockdown, I feel like it'll be pretty good, right? So for lateral containment, this overall Flyknit material isn't super supportive, like especially right here. My foot might move inside of the shoe a little bit, but overall, like it doesn't stretch at all. You know, it's a very stiff upper in that way, like doesn't stretch. But also we have the foam coming up, acting as a sidewall here in the forefoot and also here in the heel. And there also seems to be an internal TPU heel counter. So that actually feels a lot better so far than the GT Hustle 3. Right here, it just doesn't feel super supportive for me. I mean, I'm not done testing these yet, but I've been playing it. It's not the best for support or lateral containment here in the forefoot. So yeah, the GT Hustle Academy feels a little bit better for that. And also lateral stability, we have a very nice outrigger, right? It does protrude out a good amount here in the forefoot. You have a very low and very wide base. So lateral stability feels like it'll be very good, which is opposite of the GT Hustle 3. You know, this is just way too soft, way too mushy. Even here, you know, they are extending it out. There is a little bit of an outrigger, but the zoom actually compresses a good amount too. So lateral stability isn't even the best here in the GT Hustle 3, right? So that feels way better here in the Hustle Academy. Now moving on to the weight of the shoe. I mean, this shoe has to be one of the lightest shoes that you can get, or it is the lightest shoe that you can get right now, right? So let's weigh this. I mean, yeah, it feels extremely light. I'm guessing, yeah, 8.8 ounces, guys. I mean, that makes sense. You know, most it's like cheaper shoes, they lack tech. So because of that, they are lighter, right? Let's check the other shoe. At 8.75 ounces. So it is literally the lightest shoe that you can get right now, but it feels cheap on foot. You know what I mean? You can definitely tell there's not a whole lot of tech to it. Like versus the GT Cut Academy, where there is a little bit more tech to it. It's using Renew Foam, 4-foot zoom unit and stuff like that. The upper feels better. Yeah, 10.7 ounces for the GT Cut Academy. And the GT Hustle 3 is 11.5 ounces, which is still pretty dang light. It's just heavier because it's using more cushion, more tech, you know what I mean? So the 8.8 ounces is extremely light, and this shoe is extremely light and also very, very minimal. We'll have to see on how it plays though. Is it supportive enough? Is the cushion going to be okay even on harder impacts because the foam is just so thin? That'll of course come with the full performance review, but right now it's feeling pretty good so far. And now moving on to the aesthetics, I like it. You know, it's just a very simple looking shoe. It looks kind of different. I don't know, what do you guys think? You guys think it looks kind of similar? Do they look like siblings? I don't know. Or maybe like father and son, and then these are siblings. I don't know, but I do like the overall design. This colorway I'm not a huge fan of, but there is like a white colorway that looks a lot better. There's also an all black colorway. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, I don't know, it's lacking in some ways, especially the cushion. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit worried about that. Because the GT Cut Academy, you know, the Renew Foam, it was still nice compression. I didn't really have any issues with impact protection, you know, even though it was like a little underwhelming, but for 95 bucks, it's nice, you know. But this is way lower to the ground, which does feel nicer, but it's just a little thin feeling right now, so we'll have to see on impact protection. But I do like the overall like feel of the shoe, as far as like it's a really minimal upper and it's a really lightweight shoe, and the traction feels pretty good so far too. So yeah, I mean, look, it's just so light, you know. But anyways, that about concludes my first impressions look on the Nike GT Hustle Academy. Again, if you guys do want to cop any of these shoes, I try to leave the free link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.